You're listening to Thunderheads, a podcast for Thunder fans by Thunder fans.
We're back. Welcome to Thunderheads. I'm Rob Larson with the dark and I'm gonna do it this time with the dark and stormy Jason Lewis.
Yes, sir.
We got the two-man game going today.
Yes, sir. Just gonna keep saying that.
Yeah, probably a huge portion of listeners, normal listeners, are probably drowning their sorrows right now as the OU game just got over. So normally
Brandon is at the game right now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that Brandon actually flew out there specifically just to go to that game.
Just
did
that
he
one
not?
game.
No. So Brandon's not here. Jacob's not here. Justin isn't here.
Everybody just bailed on us, so
They
it's
had
just
better
us.
things to do. Normally, Brandon starts us out with a disaster of the week, but Brandon's not here.
That's true.
And so we decided to change it up a little bit, and we went with the triumph of the week.
Indeed, we did.
What do you got?
So, a group of New Zealanders has constructed a sand island in coastal waters, seemingly in a creative attempt to avoid a ban on drinking in public places, which I completely support. This is a great idea. So the group built a structure at low tide in the Tairua estuary on the Coromandel Peninsula, that was hard to say, on Sunday afternoon. They installed a picnic table and an ice box for drinks. So this is just, like, what they built is just a little, like, block of sand
It's like
that
a
comes
sand
out of the
bar.
water.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a little one that basically just fits a picnic table and some and an ice box.
The picture I saw was just, it had like 4 people on each side
Yeah, it's just
drinking.
a small group of people that did this. But basically they did this because there was a ban on public drinking in force in Coromandel over the New Year period, and those violating the ban face a fine of $250 or arrest, which is not...
So I looked into that just a little bit, and it actually said, I guess people are complaining that most of it is just like younger people that are just trying to have a good time. They're actually not drunk yet, but they're opening up unopened containers and just pouring them out. And so these people are trying to, fight that by taking part in this.
Yeah, so it's pretty funny. The authorities seem to be taking the initiative in a lighthearted spirit, it says here. The local police commander inspector, that's right, he has that many titles, John Kelly, he said, that's creative thinking. If I had known about it, I probably would have joined them, which is awesome. But yeah, that's a pretty sweet deal that they got going on down there.
I think there's probably a fine line there between if you're willing to build like a little sandbar and put all that effort into it. Like, are you an alcoholic? Like, maybe you have a problem, or are you really just... You're really just trying to fight something.
You're fighting the state. You're a rebel at that point. You're not an alcoholic, right?
That's right.
I'm really proud of those people.
And
Stephen Adams people are smart.
Yeah. So now we definitely need to go to New Zealand.
Yeah.
And see what it's like.
Yeah, and build a little sandbar. It's good times.
Yep.
So you want to kick us off with a little Rob's rundown?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, we got 4 games to talk about. The first one, Christmas Day game.
Yes.
The Rockets in OKC, a game that went back and forth with 14 lead changes and 9 ties. They actually were tied going into the fourth, where the Thunder played really well. Rockets in the fourth quarter, 33% from the field, 9% from 3.
Jesus.
So obviously that's a huge win right there for the Thunder. The Rockets only scored 19 points in that fourth quarter. Thunder win 112-107.
Yeah, I was at that game, and it was a blast, but it was also one of the most nerve-wracking experiences I've had. I don't know why I was so nervous about it. I think it felt like a really huge game for the Thunder.
The Rockets are really good. You have, you've got Harden coming back. It's important, I think, now with all of the changes to the team, I think it's always important to kind of stick it to players that aren't here anymore, whether they decided to leave or not.
Right.
However they left, it's still kind of like we're fine, even though you're playing.
Yeah, and they're a top team in the West right now. And you want to it's nice to see the Thunder play well against powerhouse teams like that. So
yeah, the Thunder shot 54% from the field, 44% from 3. They actually shot better than the Rockets, who lighted up from 3.
Right.
So that's
we fouled the shit out of some 3-pointers. So that's probably where some of them didn't
a
go.
little bit, but still they played really good defense against the Rockets. Took away what they really want to do.
Right.
And sort of, I think, maybe more so than any other game we've seen so far this year, it really seemed like the Thunder kind of enforced what they wanted to do and made it difficult for the Rockets to be able to do what they wanted to do, which obviously led to a win.
Agreed. No Chris Paul also, but
yeah, there wasn't there. I did love the picture. So we'll get into that a little bit later. So the next game was the Raptors at home. The Thunder struggled defensively in the first quarter. That was pretty much the end of the struggles, though. The Thunder offense looked really good in this game. They scored 102 points through the first 3 quarters.
That was the first, right?
Yeah. Took a 14-point lead into the fourth. And basically it continued. They won the fourth as well. They win their 6th straight game, 124 to 107.
They held a lead, and they just kept it. That was cool. The bench really, I think in the first quarter when we started to lose the game there, or lost the lead, the bench kind of suffered really badly, and Alex was having a hell of a time guarding anybody. We kind of talked about that last pod a little bit, but
yeah, and his struggles. I mean, we'll get into that a little bit more, but his struggles have continued even after that game.
Indeed.
The next one was Milwaukee, and you had as good as the Thunder offense looked, it kind of seemed like against the Raptors, maybe the Thunder had gotten things figured out a little bit, and then you have the game against Milwaukee. And that was kind of the complete opposite. Like, as good as they were offensively against the Raptors, just not so much against the Bucks.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was really ugly.
So they scored 102
Paul
points.
George and Dre were out that game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Dre got hurt, and then he came back.
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah. Okay.
So against the Raptors, the Thunder scored 102 through the first 3 quarters. Against the Bucks, they scored 67. 67 points through the first 3 quarters in that game. Like that, I mean, I just think the difference between those, and I've talked so much, especially during the rundowns, like whenever you look at this team throughout like a 4-game or even sometimes just a 3-game stretch of games, like you just see a really good team at times, and then you see a really bad team.
Yeah, and I feel like earlier in the year it was like that was happening within the game, though. Like, you would see the really good team and then the really bad team in the same game.
Kind of, yeah.
Like, a lot more. And now we're seeing it more in total games. So I don't know if that's necessarily good.
Right. Yeah.
But it's definitely happening.
Thunder lose 97-95 to the Bucks.
And are we going to talk about that bullshit call, or are we going to save that for later?
Yeah, let's go ahead and let's talk about that. Because you had, obviously, the way Russ hit a ridiculous 3.
The arena exploded at that moment. Yeah. It was so amazing.
That sort of seems to be he's kind of found his groove there, and I mean, it just seems like, and we'll talk a little bit about the next game, but to that point, it seemed like Russ could just do no wrong in those situations. Like if he was shooting a 3 late in the game like that, it was going in.
Yeah, and everybody knew it was happening, and it was just gonna happen. Like it was gonna go in, and then what did he leave? 4 seconds, 4.7 seconds.
I'd have to go back. Yeah,
it was like that, and then so Giannis drives back down, steps out of bounds, and there's a baseline referee standing right beside him, doesn't see it, and he scores, and they don't review it.
Yeah, and so I wanted to get your thoughts. So how do you feel? So obviously afterwards, and it didn't even. The problem that I have with that is that you don't need. Replay on that wouldn't take very long, and they couldn't go to replay because there was no call.
They didn't even
on
have
the court.
To. They just look up.
Yeah,
it was
and,
on
and
the
you could tell. Yeah,
for sure.
And so everybody at home knows. You can clearly see he steps out of bounds, and so the problem with replay is then what positive impact are you really having? Because they go to the replay on plays that we can clearly see.
Right.
You don't need to.
Yeah.
A lot of it's the out of bounds, like who was the ball off of. And you can clearly see, like, they don't need to review those. The team gets whoever is down typically benefits from that because they get a free timeout in that scenario. And then you have plays like this. There was no call on the court. They couldn't review it. And it was so clear. Like, before play started, you could see everybody at home already knew, like, and in the arena.
Yeah.
Like, you could tell that it was – they missed it.
Yeah. And so I think your point, like, if they're going to use replay, why not be able to use it at times when there's a possible missed call?
Yeah, and I think what the NFL does, especially with catches late in the game, so after the 2-minute mark, it just comes from the booth, right? And so I think with the NBA having the replay center, they're watching every game. Like, to me, that's a huge missed opportunity.
Yeah, just make the call there.
Right.
And say,
just,
hey, you guys missed this.
Somehow they need to implement something in there that sort of just triggers a replay where it doesn't have to be a call. The referee on the court doesn't have to sort of call for it because, unless they were looking up, I mean, you're going to have fans booing. And I thought it was pretty obvious, from the reaction of how much the crowd was getting on them.
And the crowd stayed well after the game was over.
Right.
Because Melo kept talking. I don't know if they kept this on TV or not, but Melo kept talking to the ref after everything was done. And he kept trying to argue to say, why didn't you review it? Why didn't you call it? All that stuff. And so everybody just stayed there and booed the entire time. And it was kind of amazing. But then, the announcer finally came over and was like, okay, well, that's done.
The problem is it looks like the NBA was just sort of short-sighted in the way that the replay is set up now. Obviously, if they've missed something on the court like that, where something just wasn't called.
Right.
And we're not talking fouls. We're talking a blatant step out of bounds. So I think there's some that you can be sort of objective about. There's certain calls that you can't. Yeah, you need to see them in fast as the play's actually happening. Where if a guy steps out of bounds, you just have to catch that.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous that the Thunder lose that game, all because there's not something in place to sort of help the officials whenever. I guarantee you in the replay center, they're yelling in there.
They're like,
hey, this isn't right. You can
they have to have people assigned to certain games, watching them in there, I would assume. And so why isn't that guy, able to say, hey, this dude stepped out of bounds? Or if there's another situation that would be applicable. Like you said, I don't think with a lot of foul calls you could do that. But
yeah, but there definitely needs to be, and this isn't Thunder fans yelling because we lost the game. I think everybody can agree that it just wasn't right.
If that happened to us the reverse way, I would.
Yeah, we would have.
I probably wouldn't be talking about it as much, but I'd definitely agree with it.
It's still something that needs to be changed, and I would expect that they'll do something about that. There definitely needs to be a change where there's not so much pressure on the referee in that moment to call something like that, to trigger a review. Right. There should be something from the replay center that just sort of comes down and says, hey, we need to look at this. And it doesn't have to be anything long.
Yeah. They could just do it while stuff happens and then say, hey.
Yeah, let's review it. And the referee sort of just walks over there and looks at it and can see it really quickly.
Right.
But definitely something
puts
has
a little
to
headset on and they go, hey, he stepped out of bounds.
You missed it.
Okay.
Yeah. And who knows what would have happened. I mean, that you're talking about a tied game, like you said, with around 4 seconds left. And whenever he stepped out, if you get, I don't know what it was,
like a second,
1 point, whatever it was,
1.5 something.
But either way, I mean, the game goes at minimum. The game goes to overtime,
right?
And the Thunder still have
at least a chance, but
so
shouldn't have gotten to that position as the Thunder. But
and that's another.
It was a hell of a fight to come back because they were down by quite a bit.
Right. So the last game we have here were the Mavericks. No Dre in this game. PG came back. This is a game the Thunder shouldn't need Andre Robertson that much. You shouldn't have to worry about Harrison Barnes completely going off to where you just can't you can't control him at all.
Yeah, he was 10 of 15.
Yep.
That's 4 for 6 from 3.
This game was really similar to that Rockets game in which it went back and forth a bunch. There were 21 lead changes and the game was tied 10 times.
Yeah, it didn't feel good ever though. Did you ever feel good about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think
because there was a moment so there was one moment where I think it was the second quarter where Melo and PG kind of started getting hot and they were hitting some shots.
Yeah, and
that was the one nice part of the game to me where it didn't feel like the rest of it. I just was like, this doesn't seem like it's going our way.
You have an inferior opponent like that. You just whenever you let them hang in the game, the more that the later the game goes, you should be beating them. You're not. You get tight. They have confidence. I mean, I think that leads to it. The Thunder dropped that game 116 to 113. They go 2-2 in this 4-game stretch, which you beat the Rockets and you beat the Raptors. I think
that's two of the top teams.
The Bucks are tough, but you're
better than them.
That's a game that you could understand if you drop, especially with how it ended, and then you drop a game to the Mavs.
Which the Mavs right now are on they were on a 3-game winning streak at that point, going into the game, I think, and
they're
12
games under 500 or whatever, 13 games under whatever.
They're a scrappy team, but we should be able to take care of that game. I think. Like,
yeah, you have to be, and I don't know if it's hard for me to say. There's sort of a layover of what happened in the Bucks game. I'm sure that affected guys, but even after the game, like after that Bucks game and after what happened with Giannis, you had Russ basically saying like it's over. Like we have to let that go.
Right, you have to.
But you have to come in and beat the Mavs after that. Like you can't say that and then completely kind of lay an egg to one of the worst teams in the West.
It definitely didn't seem like Russ's fault. He seems like the one guy that was. I mean, really, Melo and PG both shot very well in the game. It seemed like they were doing a lot, but for some reason, like it just didn't.
It was defensively.
Work. Yeah,
like the Thunder struggled defensively. You give up 116 points to the Mavericks. That's just not good. And I don't know how much. How much do you chalk that up to Andre Robertson just being out? Yeah,
I mean, well, Dennis Smith Jr. in the fourth quarter went off.
Yeah, he had like 11 points in the last minute and a half or something like that. Like it was insane.
Like I don't understand why we didn't have somebody lock him up. Like I guess that would typically be Dre, but we have Paul George.
Yeah, well, Paul George's hands are tied when Harrison Barnes is doing what he's doing. And then I don't know. I mean, you have Smith, especially at the end of that game. You have Smith driving down, and you have Grant there.
Yeah,
and there was really, I mean, Grant's lengthy, and I don't know. He didn't really pose much of a threat.
Yeah,
Smith. I mean, it was like pretty easy layup.
Got right around him, and it was no big deal.
But I think the bigger issue there is what we kind of talked about is you can't let a team like that hang around, kind of really beat you up to that point.
Yeah,
where you probably shouldn't win the game. But the fact that you're so much more talented than that other team makes you still feel like we have to win that.
Right. Yeah. They should have that ability, like getting through those tough ones. But it does seem like they always play down kind of their competition. Like they keep doing that all year. And we talked a lot on the last podcast about them turning a corner. They went on that. How many games was it? 7-game winning streak? 6?
They had 6-game winning streak up to the Raptors game. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Like they looked really good for a stretch finally.
Right.
I mean, that was the first time this year that we had a stretch of games where they looked really good. And so now you're kind of like, well, shit, are they back to what they were, or who is this team now? Like have they found their identity, or do they still not quite know where they're at?
Yeah, and I think the biggest part of that win streak was really it looked like they had turned it around offensively.
Right.
And something that they had struggled with so much all season. It kind of just, and I get it that it's a make and miss league. Like if you're, especially when you have like Paul George, who's been struggling. There's games where Carmelo Anthony has scored in single digits like 3 times, or more this season. Like there's the fact that it sort of made us seem like, maybe they were getting it figured out offensively, and then to only manage, what was it, 95 to the Bucks. Again,
it seemed like Paul George being gone that game had such a huge effect on their offense. Like, because when they first came out, they were just, it seemed like they just went right back to mellow ISO.
Right.
And it was like, well, why don't you guys keep doing the other stuff that was working? But I don't know if it works without PG. So that's like a question I have is, like, is this team's depth not really there? Like if one of the guys is gone, can the other 2 guys not pick it up, or is it just it depends heavily on the particular people? Like if PG and Russ aren't there, we're in big trouble.
Yeah, and to that point so there was the big question, who is going to start in that game against the Bucks. You have Paul George, who was out, and then so whenever you go with Abrines to start, which I think we even saw on Twitter, like a lot of people were questioning that. It didn't really seem to make sense. And you look at the starters in that first quarter, like minus 24 for Abrines.
Yeah.
A minus 24. Everybody else was minus as well. Big, like double digits.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just didn't make sense to me that you would have, and Abrines played almost 10 minutes in that first quarter. Like at what point, I think there was definitely a question on Billy Donovan there, like, I understand this is the call you made to start the game, but it was not working.
Yeah, like get him out. Like if it's not working. Like, and honestly, this is my first big complaint against Billy this season. Like a lot of people have had a bunch of shit to say about him all year, and probably rightfully so.
Yeah, some unfair, some.
Yeah,
I think
like
there's
some
some
unjust,
crazy people that just say ridiculous things.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there has been some just criticism of him. But this was the first time I was like, just looking at Milwaukee's lineup, like Alex Abrines has no place guarding Chris Middleton or Bledsoe or anyone on that team. They're so long and
Tony Snell.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, I agree. Like to me, if you're gonna make that move, at least like do it matchup wise. Like I understand,
right.
And Abrines, like I don't know if it's, I don't know if Billy Donovan kind of thinks that starting Abrines will kind of. I don't know if he was hoping that gets him going.
He said something about he hoped to get him going. He actually said something like that before the game, and to me, that's the opposite. Like that game is not the time to do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure whenever you throw a guy into the starting lineup, and it makes sense. My whole thing with this team so far this season is whatever makes sense on paper does not seem to work. Like I get it that putting Abrines out there with that starting unit, like you would still be able to spread the floor like you would hope to with Paul George. It doesn't seem to work with Abrines.
Yeah.
Like and he's not. The fact is also, like if he's going to be out there, he has to shoot the ball. He almost played 10 minutes in that first quarter, and he had one shot attempt, which was a 3, and he missed it. But like I don't know, I think there's another thing to be said there in regards to Donovan, where if you're going to make that move, like there has to be something in place to help Abrines excel in that spot, because I really think you're kind of setting him up for failure there because his confidence is already not great.
Yeah.
And on paper, it sounds great. Like he's going to be open. Melo's going to be on the court. Maybe Melo can, get into some.
They were denying Melo.
Yeah,
they were denying Melo so hard. Like he could not get the ball. But
they kept the problem is you just keep going to him. Though.
Right.
Like why? I don't get it.
Do something different. Like when it's not working. That's weird to me because Billy seems to be so good at adjusting, but sometimes not. Like in those situations, you're like, "What are you like? You tinker all the time. Tinker now. Tinker now."
And then we did have. So I think you can make the case Billy waited too long with Abrines in that first quarter. You could see it wasn't working, but then he does come back in the second half. He does come back with Houston played 10 minutes, almost 11 minutes in that third quarter, and the Bucks only scored 15 points in that quarter. I mean, I think there's obviously, and we have the ability to criticize him because it didn't work out in the first quarter and it did in the third.
Yeah.
But it did take him a while to sort of decide to make the change. And
maybe he was just thinking like along the lines of once he's in there a minute, maybe he'll get going or something. But
10 minutes in, I don't know. It's just,
and also, so what's the deal with Abrines though? Like, is it just confidence? Because earlier this year, like he was playing pretty well. Like I was pretty excited about him. Like,
well,
he wasn't necessarily making shots, but he was doing other stuff. He was, he was cutting to the basket. He was driving.
I had super high expectations for Abrines this year.
Yeah,
and he's still shooting. He's shooting 38.3% from 3 on the season. I mean, we kind of, I think you could just expect to have Abrines shoot above 40 or at or above 40% on the season. So and 38% still, I think you can still sort of bank on that. Like I think as the season goes on, he's going to come back to either 38% or higher. Like I don't see it going down much. But recently, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you chalk it up to because
to me, I don't see how he can stay on the floor because of his defense. Like and I think they brought this up on the broadcast yesterday where Billy had talked about his defense and said, if he's in position, he's a decent defender. Like he's never going to be an Andre Robertson, but if he's in the correct positions, he doesn't have a problem defending. It's when he lets himself get out of position so much, like then he's playing from a position of weakness. Like you can't make up for that at that point.
He's actually, decently athletic.
Right.
He's 6'6", so I do think if he can get into those positions, but it does seem, when you're fouling 3-point shooters, and it does it feels like maybe it's a little bit more a lack of kind of knowing what to do rather than not necessarily having the ability to do those things.
Yeah, like he kind of just gets lost a little bit. Like it seems like in that Raptors game, I just remember people, anytime somebody drove on him, instant foul. Like he could not stop anybody.
And for this 4-game stretch, Abrines was the lowest on the plus minus. He was minus 11.3 in these 4 games. He did shoot 50% from 3 in these 4 games, but he only whenever you're looking at a limited number of shots, like I don't know, it's hard because I really want things to work out with Abrines. Like I think that there's value. I still think that there's value there because of what you need for this team. Like it doesn't make sense to me that he can't fit in. He was 1 for 2 from 3 in those 4 games.
Right.
Like it just doesn't seem. I don't know. So it doesn't seem like he's getting enough opportunity. But then it's also, why is he on the court at times where it just doesn't make sense?
Like how can you give him opportunity if he's not?
So who is that on? Who is that? Is that mostly on Billy? Is it on the guys on the court? Is it on Abrines not being able to? I don't know.
I mean, I would argue that you do need, when he's out on the floor, like you were talking about before, when he's out there, you need to run some sets for him a little bit. Like I know they're trying to get focused mostly on Paul George and Russ and all that stuff, and he's kind of just like an outlet.
But shouldn't that make him more successful?
I would think so.
That's what I'm saying. Like it doesn't. Whatever makes sense on paper does not work for this team.
Right.
Paul George with the bench over Carmelo, who's just going to continue shooting and not making anybody better.
Yeah.
Like Paul George should be better at that, and he's just not. Like it doesn't. We've gone over. Brandon has talked a lot about this, and he's given us those numbers. It just doesn't seem to work with Paul George with that bench, but on paper it should. Well, Abrines is the same way. Like to me, it makes so much sense to have him start, especially. I mean, whenever Paul George and Robertson can also contribute, like to me, it makes a lot of sense that you can just have Abrines in there to help spread the floor and do things that you're not going to get out of Josh Huestis. Josh Huestis can't shoot the ball as well as Abrines. But, I mean, it's not, whenever you watch it on the court, whenever you look at the results, it doesn't seem to be the case that Abrines has a fit with this team.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's, like, for Billy, like, it seems like he very much values, him and Sam, both very much value someone being able to put in effort and play defense really well first, right? And that seems to be all their main concern. And then the offense stuff kind of works itself out a little bit. But if Alex can't do that part of it, like, is Josh Huestis more of a Billy Donovan type of player? Like, does he fit what Billy's looking for a little bit more? Even though, I mean, he doesn't necessarily shoot all that well all the time, but he can defend, right?
He can definitely defend, yeah.
So he's kind of more of that lengthier, athletic defensive guy that they always kind of look for, and so I just don't know is Abrines the right fit, like you were saying. Like maybe he's not for what they're looking for, and it, like you said, on paper a shooter would be great. Like it should make so much sense to have some guy that can stand out there and shoot the ball like the lights out. Although, I mean, even at times earlier in the season when he would get put in, he was missing shots. But
and the problem with Huestis is over these 4 games that we're talking about here, he shot 11 threes and he only made 3.
Yeah, he went over 3 last night, and none of them looked good. Particularly, one of them I believe was an air ball, or that might have been the Bucks game.
The Bucks game, yeah. But I think, that's what you were just saying though. Is you have the Thunder consistently seem to have guys. Sam Presti's always looking for guys that can do multiple things.
Right.
Well, everybody is. You want a two-way player, but it seems like these one-way players that they continue to get, like Robertson.
Yeah.
Now Abrines is sort of.
He's basically Anthony Morrow.
He's being shown that his value is not as great offensively, or maybe they're not using him as well offensively as to take away from what you're losing on the defensive side.
Right. And
But they figured it out with Trey, obviously.
Yeah.
They've started using him differently. He's not shooting threes anymore. And so, I don't know. Maybe it is a coaching thing where Billy Donovan has to find better ways to put Alex Abrines in better situations on defense.
Yeah. I mean, that I feel like if they could figure out how to use him defensively a little bit better, maybe somehow get him more integrated into a team defense where he's not just like dependent on so heavily, but
right.
You still got to guard your guy though. Like you can't just not.
Yeah. We should also talk about a little bit coming up here. We had in these recent games, we saw Paul George.
Yeah.
Played really well.
Yeah, he did.
In 2 of the 3 games that he played in. Carmelo Anthony found his way a little bit more.
Getting hot.
Russ, obviously, Russ has been great. Like,
Russ is back, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like he's still struggling from the free throw line.
God damn it.
But I think Russ for the most part is back. Like, and I think you can definitely correlate that 6-game win streak is
Russ.
Yeah, Russ starts to turn it back around. Still, we need more. I think more consistency from Carmelo and Paul George, but Russ seems to be like there.
Yeah. Russ is. He's found his mid-range shot again. It's falling like nobody's business. Like he can't seem to even miss from there at most of the time, which is nice because before that, like before this win streak, it seemed like he didn't know how to shoot anymore. Like it seemed like he was broken a little bit.
Yeah.
And he got repaired somehow. So that's good.
You start knocking down shots and get confidence.
And those game winners that he hit. Like he's hit several of those now. And then that Mavs game, like you talked about earlier, he took some, 4 threes in the fourth quarter that were just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, which, I mean.
4 threes in that last, whatever it was.
I think there was one where he just ran up and pulled up.
Those are the frustrating ones.
Yeah, that one was like, dude, that's not the shot. Like that wasn't the one. Like,
yeah.
Like when you do the one from the corner of the key, and you kind of like does his little dribble pull up thing when he's gonna make the game winner and everybody knows it's going in. That's fine.
Yeah.
Even if that doesn't go in, I'm fine with that shot. But then to do it 3 times in a row, like maybe at that point give it to somebody else.
Yeah, and that's the problem is you look at Russ in that fourth quarter, without those threes, he shot 7 for 9.
Right.
Like you were doing what you needed to do. Just continue to do that. You don't have to win it all with that one shot. Like he wants. I don't know. I think it's constantly the knock on Russ, especially from non-Thunder fans whenever they say he wants to make up for so much so quickly.
Yeah, all at once.
Yeah, and
like,
that's
running down, hitting that pull up, like. Ooh! All of a sudden we're winning now,
right?
And it's like, dude, you could have just like made it 2,
or run some offense if you want to. If you want to do that, like try and run a little bit of offense.
Get a better shot than a guy right in your face.
Yeah, make the Mavs work for it.
And on the point of him taking all 4 of those threes,
it was just 3. He took 3 threes in the fourth quarter.
But PG and Melo were both shooting 57.1% from 3 that game, like. That at that point of you missing 2 of them and you get another chance, like maybe run a play for Paul George.
What was Melo for the game field goal wise?
Do you have 48.7%.
He took 1 shot in that fourth quarter.
Damn.
And
it's crazy how they
in
just
almost
go
the 8
away.
minutes that he played. And he did have 4 free throws, which kind of took away a couple of those attempts, but still one attempt. Russ was great. Russ was still other than those last threes, like Russ was so good.
And if he had hit one of them.
Well, yeah, and that's always
totally
the
different
thing.
Story. Right?
That's always the thing. And it always seems like if the Thunder are down big, that shot's going in. Russ is going to make that.
Like I was confident in it.
He'll give you a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
And then the Thunder will kind of fall apart the rest of the way because he's going to think he can continue doing it.
Yeah.
But like when you're 7 for 9 in that corner, just keep going. Like just keep doing what you're doing.
It's what he always says. Like take what the defense gives him. Like he wasn't doing that there, and that's kind of disappointing to see. But again, it's really hard to criticize a guy who did what he did in that game. And
really what he's been doing recently for this team.
How can you knock him for that? It's just like I mean, Jeremy Grant had a pretty bad game. It felt like he shot 16%, 1 for 6.
Yeah.
And he's what is up with his three? Like it went back to normal. Because I mean, before he came to OKC last year, he was terrible, and then that little stint, like the half year he was here, he actually shot pretty well. And then we were all wondering if it was going to stick around for this year, and turns out it hasn't.
Right.
He looks so uncomfortable shooting the ball. And
he's actually, I think he had shied away from shooting threes through this 4-game stretch. He's 1 for 5, so he's shooting 20%.
3 of them last night.
Right, and so he has sort of gone away because you can tell. We've talked about it before, but confidence with him is shot from 3. Like he will go to the rim, or he'll sort of go around his guy and shoot a mid range way more than what he wants to take a 3.
Well, like last night, I think he had a wide open 3, passed out of it, got the ball back, and then still hesitated to take it.
Yeah, and it's 100% just sort of. Lacking confidence in his shot. I think obviously he realizes he's not shooting the ball well from 3, so why do it? But, if the defense is going to play you towards that, you're putting everybody else at a disadvantage then as well on offense, because you're not like you just said, taking what the defense is giving you. If they're going to give that to you, you're wide open.
Yeah.
You're going to have to take it. Maybe get an offensive rebound. Try for the long rebounds.
Especially if he's on the floor with Dre at times, and it's like, oh no.
Yeah, then you're definitely
someone's got to take one. Yeah, and that's scary.
Yeah, because at that point when you're playing 3-on-5, 4-on-5, it's just I don't know. That's not going to end well. But it's hard because he's not shooting the ball well. Yeah. So you can kind of understand something has to give there, and maybe. I don't know. He just has to shoot the ball. He just has to shoot the ball better because, like, the Thunder need Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, they really do. I feel like when he's effective, this team is so much better. Like, just when he can get around the rim, it seems like he's unstoppable sometimes. Right. Like nobody's gonna stop him from dunking, ever. So if they can use him, it's almost like the Dre thing. Like, use him properly, and he's super effective. But him standing at the 3-point line isn't the most effective thing. Yeah, and it doesn't seem like.
I think Billy Donovan has done a pretty good job with Jeremy Grant this year, finding ways. It took a little bit longer with Robertson than it did with Grant. Like, I felt like Billy figured it out, or maybe that's just more so a Jeremy Grant thing, where he just kind of figured out his role within the offense a little bit quicker than Dre figured out how he could sort of maneuver and be a plus.
Right.
Not be such a negative on offense.
For sure, yeah.
And so another guy that I kind of wanted to talk about here was Patrick Patterson, who we really thought had sort of found his groove a little bit.
Yeah.
Was playing better. I don't know if it was fool's gold a little bit because he didn't have a good week.
Yeah, no. He's looked really has he hit a shot?
Yeah, he was 2 for
because it feels like he hasn't.
He was 2 for 9 for the week, 22% from the field, 1 for 6 from 3, 16% from 3.
God.
Over this stretch. And the problem is
he did have 2 threes that became badass dunks though.
Yeah.
Like missed threes.
Yeah.
So it was kind of an alley-oop.
The problem with the 2 guys we've just talked about with Grant and Patterson is like you need one of those guys to play better for that week. Like, if both of those guys are struggling and you don't have Paul George for one of those games, like, I think you can kind of understand how they would drop a game to the Bucks, let's say. But like, both of those guys can't. One of those guys has to figure it out. Like, somebody step up.
We need a consistent depth. Like, that's what I was kind of getting at earlier. Is like, we have some depth, sort of. Like, we have guys. But it's the bad part is that, like, all of these role players that we have don't ever seem to be like where you can just count on them. Like, the only person I can think of on the bench that you can just count on is Felton.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one guy that seems to be pretty solid. Every once in a while everyone's going to have a slump, but I mean, it seems like you can count on him every time.
Yeah, and I don't think
outside of that.
And you're also talking about the most veteran guy. I mean, you're looking at a team off of the bench. You have Patterson, but he's just struggling. But you look at Jeremy Grant, and you look at Alex Abrines. Who else? Hustis. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at some guys that are
super young.
Yeah, they're really young, and so it makes sense that Felton, can step up in that role. But those other guys, I mean, they dropped like I said earlier, whenever you beat the Rockets and you beat the Raptors, those first 2 games, and I get it that Paul George was out, Andre Robertson missed a game, but you can't drop, you just can't. if the Thunder are truly going to be able to compete in the playoffs, you can't play like that. You can't play really good and then play really bad. You just can't. You're not going to be. They're going to struggle so much in the playoffs. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I don't understand how they think they're going to just.
That is actually one point I was going to make. Is I like that we're playing these young. I mean, we don't have any choice.
Yeah, there's
definitely
to
play
no
these young guys. But I like that. If you go back a few years when Scott Brooks was here, like, you wouldn't see most of these people getting any time, right? Like, he would kind of shy away from giving those young guys time.
Yeah, we'd be looking at like a 7-man rotation, most likely.
Yeah, exactly what would be
Felton
happening.
And Patterson.
And it would
maybe
just be
some
Felton, just
maybe 8 with Nick.
Derek Fishering all the time. Yeah, Nick would absolutely be playing more. So I like that we're giving these guys run now, and hopefully we kind of get back to that win streak area where they have figured things out. But I feel like in order to do that, everybody has to be healthy. Like, if we have one guy out that's from the starting lineup, we have huge problems. Like, that's concerning, right? Like, if anybody gets hurt, it's like, ooh, I don't think we can win a game.
Right. Yeah.
Like, maybe if Melo got hurt, it'd be all right. but if Russ, PG, Dre, like, Adams. It doesn't seem like Adams.
Yeah.
Which Adams has kind of not had the best 2 games the last couple.
Yeah, he's struggled
like against
the
Bucks. He looked like you in 2K against John Henson.
Yeah, John Henson's really good on 2K. It doesn't make any sense. But I agree. Like, if you're not, you have to be able to, those guys have to be able to step up. And you're not asking Alex Abrines to be Paul George.
Yeah.
Just don't be a -24 in the first quarter. Like, I don't think it's
so simple.
Like,
just don't suck that bad,
yeah.
Right? Like, just be kind of Like, just stay in front of your guy a little bit. Try not to foul every time he gets the ball, and you'd be all right. Like, we could play you more, and then you could maybe get some shots.
Or in that Bucks game, Abrines started, played his minutes, and didn't see any more game time. Like, he just didn't. Billy never went back, never sort of tried to throw him in there.
Which is good.
Yeah, it probably is.
Lost by more.
Probably so. That sucks, though, right?
Yeah.
Because, and I know Jacob was another guy on the pod that was big on Abrines, like I was coming into this year.
God.
He's supposed to be so much better than what we're getting right now.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it was kind of to keep harping on him a little bit.
Just keep harping on him. Why not?
Just the end of the year last year, like, he looked like he also over the offseason, he looked like he made so much progress, beefing up and all that.
Yeah.
Didn't make progress. Like,
he
did and then regressed, I guess.
Alex Abrines seems like a guy that if the Thunder do make a trade, he's a guy that definitely has to be involved. Like,
so you were just saying a minute ago, that was actually what I was going to ask you. You were saying a minute ago that you still think there's value there and you want to kind of keep him.
Yeah, well, what I also think, though, is that if this team is going to be successful, Alex Abrines seems like the most likely guy that will be included in some sort of a trade.
Yeah.
Like, he just has to be. Like, I don't know how much more we have to see to know that the fit just isn't there.
Right.
And it, again, doesn't make sense on paper. He should be fine.
I mean, Anthony Morrow should have been better. Like, it seems like he's the exact same thing. It's like somehow we have this weird thing about this team always.
He is, but he's a young... Abrines is a young guy who is, I just think he should, given his build, he should be better on defense.
Yes. He absolutely should.
I don't want to... We're kind of killing Abrines here.
Man, we are really shitting on him today.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't played well, and I don't know... is he out of the rotation, Abrines? Like, is going forward, are we going to... How much Abrines...
I don't know if we can completely take him out. like, it doesn't seem. I feel like he needs to get run here and there just to see if he can make a shot every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I definitely think he's in Billy's doghouse for sure. Like, he's not super fond of him at the moment, I would say. So one thing we haven't talked about much is we talked about the bad referee call, but we didn't talk about Pat talking shit on them.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
He actually was fined in that. He got fined because of
$10,000
what he said on Twitter.
And so he kind of talked about them, but at this point, I feel like the refs are actually bad, right? Like,
yeah, I think there's
been a large number of calls that they've gotten horribly wrong for both, like not just Thunder calls. Like we've had, I think last night I remember there was a call that was definitely out on us, and they didn't call it for the other team. It just seems like the officiating has.
This is the Measure.
Oh no!
Are you talking about the?
That was a different one, but Measure did get hit in the face with a ball. Like it actually hit him in the face, then went out of bounds, and they called it Mavs ball. And I'm like, how? It literally hit the guy right in the mouth. Like,
I think that you make that mistake, and I don't know if it's pride. A lot of times you'll see him like check with another referee, just be like, oh, hey, I think I messed up on that. Can you just like say you saw it better and it's actually the other way?
Yeah, right.
But I mean,
I'm fine if they did that.
Yeah, just get it right.
That's I actually saw an interview with LeBron yesterday, and he so it's not just our team that's been complaining.
Definitely not.
Like it's league wide, it seems like.
Yeah.
And LeBron was like, the worst part about it is when I go up to them afterwards and they say, yeah, that's no call, and he's like I know it was a foul, and he knows. Like I know he saw it, and it's like it's way worse.
I know that was a foul.
He was like, it'd be better if you just said, "Hey, I missed that one," or like, like at least give him something. But it just seems like I don't know what they need to do. Does there need to be a fine for refs, like for missing things? Do they need to be reprimanded in some way to where someone needs to hold them accountable?
Well, it takes us back to that last 2-minute report.
Is that bad?
I mean, are you a fan? We've talked a little bit about that report that comes out.
I feel like I'm one of the minority of people that actually like it, but I just like to see them
some action taken.
I just like to see the transparency where it's like, oh, you guys admit that you got it wrong at least. Not that you can do anything about it, but at least makes me a little bit fuzzier knowing that they know they're wrong.
Right.
But it does kind of throw the refs under the bus, and it upsets
my whole thing,
people, I think.
I agree with your point, though, that I like the report because it does hold them accountable. It sort of calls them out.
Yeah.
To say here's what they missed.
But then you also hear other people that say, like, why focus on just the last 2 minutes? Why not do the whole game? But I mean, that would be really difficult for them to go through every call. But
yeah, and I don't know that it's. I don't know that it's because there are requirements within that last. They don't do a last 2 minute report on every game.
Yeah, it has to be so close.
And so I think, I don't know, it would seem way overboard to know, like
the whole game would be ridiculous.
9 minutes left in the first quarter, they missed a foul, whatever. But I like the report because, like you said, there is accountability there. Maybe they need to take more action on.
That's kind of what I'm looking for. Is like, so you got it wrong. So what now? Like, did he get? Like, do you talk to them and be like, hey, you need to not do this again, or like, is there any type of like, if they miss a certain percentage of calls, they like get demoted? I don't know how this works, how refereeing works.
One thing that I mentioned earlier that I think helps that last 2 minute report is having the better replay system.
Yeah.
Like you could avoid some of those calls by just having somebody else do the replay, like letting you know that you missed something, rather than the ref having to do that. There's so much There's so much pressure on the referee to not only make the call, which is still very difficult.
Their job, I think that's something people forget. Also, their job is extremely difficult.
Right.
Like these people move so fast. Like when if you sit close to the court,
I've sat very close to the court.
You sat at courtside.
Yeah.
But when you sit down there, Russ flies by and like you don't know what happened. Like I'm just like, where did he come from? I don't know what's going on. So like to be right there on the stuff and be able to call these, and players are acting and flopping all over the place. Like it's a hard job. Like,
it is.
And to have somebody like if you have a replay center just sitting there, use it.
Right.
Like, that's what I don't understand.
Agreed. I think we just solved the problem.
Yeah. Just use it.
There's nothing more that needs to happen, right? I don't see how anything else needs to be changed.
Agreed.
All right. You want to play?
You want to get into this little game?
Yeah. Let's play a game.
Let's play a
Some
game.
music.
I do.
All right. So.
It's New Year's Day.
It's New Year's Day.
Happy New Year!
Yeah.
We made it.
What you went out
Are
for
you
New Year's?
surprised we're not dead?
No,
I didn't
not
know
at all.
I didn't think we were gonna get
You went
through
out
that.
for New Year's.
Little
I went
bit,
to
yeah.
a casino.
Oh. Did you go to that 70s party?
No, I was in St. Louis.
Oh. Yeah, okay.
So I played craps.
Oh, did you win some money?
Yeah, I actually lost money at slot machines, but actually
Don't ever play slot machines.
yeah,
They don't work out.
They're a mess. So we're talking New Year's resolutions for every Thunder player. Probably not every Thunder player, for
Right.
Thunder players. And it got me wondering though, like, do you do New Year's resolutions?
Nope.
Well,
I need to be better at life.
There was a poll that was taken. About 45% of Americans actually take part in doing a New Year's resolution.
Uh-huh.
What do you think the success rate is of that 40% that actually follow through?
4.7%?
9%.
Oh, that was pretty
typically.
close.
Yeah. And over 40% of those who make a resolution will give up before the end of January.
Damn. That's quick.
Those are just fun stats for New Year's
I like
resolution.
how we statted that up.
All right, so you want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah, I've got one for Alex Abrines.
Okay.
Take up ballet, bro.
Ballet.
Yeah, get a little bit more agile out there so you can stop fouling people because it's driving me freaking nuts.
That's a good one. I have one for Paul George.
Okay.
I have a do more exciting things. So
Just all around.
PG likes to fish,
Yeah.
but he also likes to go to the strip club. So I think he needs to do more exciting things, but it seems to me there's a happy medium somewhere in there that
He's
he
just
could.
the extremes.
Yeah.
He's like, he likes to sit a lot, clearly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really what he likes to do.
Maybe that's the problem.
It's either like, I like to see a fishing pole or some titties.
Yeah.
But I've actually got one for PG, which is several things. He's got a couple goals here. Get a vasectomy. That's number one.
Yeah.
Catch a bunch of fish.
Yeah.
And then sign the NBA's first lifelong contract with OKC in
Ooh.
the offseason, which is probably definitely not going to happen.
I would agree with that. I have another one here. It's find love.
Oh,
I went with Steven Adams
okay.
for find love. I know there was that thing where whenever they went and visited New Zealand, he took Dre, and
Yeah.
there was a girl there that he supposedly.
Oh, really?
I don't know if they're.
I didn't hear about that.
I didn't follow up to see if they were continuing
Oh, my.
anything. But he's like, I feel like of everybody we're going to talk about here for this, like he's one of the ones that actually kind of has his stuff together.
His life's
So
kind of...
maybe he should find love.
That would be nice.
That would be nice.
What would his kid be like? He's going to be like a...
Like Bam Bam.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what he's going to be.
What else you got?
All right, so for Mello, I've got a plan here for him.
Mm-hmm.
You win a championship, therefore you win Lala back.
Oh, God.
It all comes together. Your life is complete again, sir. So get with it. Get
So
that
you're
chip.
setting some goals there for him.
Yeah. And you said he's going to win the MVP, so.
Yeah, no, that was
Okay.
we're not doing that. So I have one typical New Year's resolution people have: find a better job.
Okay.
I'm with Kyle Singler. Like so many of these fit Kyle Singler, by
Yeah,
the way.
I bet they do.
But
He's got some life.
he's got to
stuff
find a better
figure out.
job. Like his time is clearly running out.
I mean, he's got some money, though.
Yeah, he does have some money.
So mine for him was actually just to take up knitting, because he's going to be on the bench for a while longer,
Yeah.
so he could make some things for the team, you know?
Yeah. There is also one here: work out more often. I think we know where this one's going. You could do two guys in there. You want Raymond Felton or Carmelo probably needs to work out more often.
That kind of goes along with my Ferguson. Leg day, all day, day. Get them toothpicks built up, bro. Come on. We need to get that. We need to get those legs going.
I also have one here: do more good deeds for others.
Do more good deeds for others. Okay.
So I also went Raymond Felton there because he needs to set people up more. He's got to
does.
get those assists up.
He likes to get his own shot.
This is a resolution. Hopefully, like I know it's not really who he is, but get better, bro.
Yeah.
That's what this is about.
My Raymond one is just get thicker, more burgers.
Oh, God.
Bring them.
As a guy,
that guy's stout, man.
I don't know how much people know Jason, but a guy who loves burgers.
Love burgers.
You would know. Yeah, you would be the expert there.
Also, just a little shout out to Ray for locking up Harden and DeRozan, I think. Was it?
Yeah.
All in the same week. That was impressive. They don't want none of that, right?
He's like
He's
stocky.
so thick, man. You can't get around him.
Can't push him around, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I had one for Dre.
Yeah.
Which was get to just shoot 40% from the free throw line. And by the way, that is so sad that that's your goal.
Yeah.
That's just bad.
Seems like an extremely low bar, but
sometimes you gotta set it low to get there.
And then my last one I had here was a lot of people like to learn something new.
Mm-hmm.
And I went with Eustace there. Just
What's he gonna learn?
Well, he needs to, on the court, as we talked a little bit, he needs to learn how to play offense better. Or to shoot better.
All around. Just, hey, offense, though? Could you do that more better? More better.
There were two other ones I couldn't think of anybody for. I don't know if you can think of some.
I see you did this a different way than I did, but I like it.
So I thought I would just look up the most common ones and put Thunder players in those.
Insert them, yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
So general life and self-improvements. I couldn't think of anybody, but I think Kyle Singler definitely can fit that one.
Yeah, that's for him.
And then make better financial decisions. That's another common one. But they all make a ton of money.
They make so much money it doesn't matter. Well, except for one of them will end up on Broke 3, the ESPN documentary. For Russ, I got stop practicing free throws with Dre and teach Noah the Sham God. Let's go ahead and get him started early.
Michael Cage calls every crossover. He calls every crossover that Russ does the Sham God.
He calls every crossover Sham God and every pass a pocket pass.
Yeah, he's good at his job, though. He definitely doesn't need to find a new skill or hobby because it wasn't on my sheet here. He definitely does.
He totally should be in that new employment situation.
He definitely should.
Can we seriously start this petition to get Antonio Daniels that job?
I would be down for it. Should have happened a long time ago.
Should. Want to get some Twitter questions?
Yeah.
Tweet. Alrighty. Jesse Edgar at OK Computer Guy. Why do you think lower-ranked teams always play like they are the 1995-96 Chicago Bulls when we play them? So,
we talked a little bit about it, but the Thunder played down to competition so much. I don't know if it's. I don't know. That's always a problem with this team, and it kind of always has. It kind of always has been.
Yeah.
To an extent.
Well,
even more so now.
Yeah, it's weird, and I remember someone mentioning that. I think it was Brandon said that some Pacers fans were saying that Paul George always did that in Indiana. Like he would kind of just be like, not really going to get up for this game because it's just the Kings or something.
Right.
And that's not good for us because we already did that.
Because we have enough. Yeah. But you look at not just Paul George, but Russ. Like we see other point guards on teams where like we should be beating this team. Like the point guard, it seems. Ricky Rubio's a big one. I'm just going to throw that out there.
You and your Ricky Rubio love.
But I don't think there's any explanation other than, like, the Thunder just, I don't know. It's hard. Maybe it's hard to get up for those games. I don't know.
Like when you just know you're so much better and you're just like, well.
The worst part, though, is whenever you know you're better and you lose to the Mavs.
It's kind of embarrassing.
You'd
think after you did it so many times, you'd be like, hey, guys, remember last time how we were like, and then they kicked our asses?
Yeah.
Let's be better.
Do better than that.
Yeah, be better. That should be the whole team's resolution is just be better.
Agreed.
Okay? All right, Zach Weber 33.
He's got 33 in his name.
He does indeed. At Z Avalanche 33. It's another 33. Did Russell give Satan his ability to shoot free throws in exchange for his MVP last year?
I don't know, but I don't like it if he did.
That is a solid theory.
It is, but
because they're not there.
Yeah, he's still.
He came back for a minute.
Yeah.
Like for.
Made you think he was.
Yeah,
back.
I was like, okay. You can do this again, and then nope.
Yep.
Let's see here. OK Sports Talk at OK_Sports Talk. Should the Thunder try and make a move before the deadline for a backup center? It seems like the team really struggles without a true center on the floor, Steven Adams, and Dakari is almost unplayable because of his defense and his giant face. I added the giant face part. That was my bad.
I was going to say, I don't remember that part. I've been calling for a backup center
Pretty
for
much
a
this
while.
whole offseason.
Like, I think if the Thunder, I think the Thunder will make a move, and I think it should be at the backup center spot. I don't know exactly who will be available at that time. I've been really wanting Nerlens, you know, hopefully he'll be healthy and everything will be fine.
Dell's still just not playing him. They didn't play him.
He's injured.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's hurt now?
Yeah, because he didn't.
Did he get hurt by not playing? He was just playing some like street hockey as a massive 7-foot person. Yeah, so you're kind of more for the center rather than a different wing player,
right?
Because we've got Terrence.
Yeah, but I more so think for this season, like I don't think we don't need Nerlens going forward depending on what happens this year. I just think Nerlens would or a center, backup center, would provide the most value for this team in what they're lacking right now.
Gotcha. All right, Barry McCockiner at Thunderbucket 7. He's got a 7 in his name. Okay. Terrence Ferguson showed flashes of why we drafted him. How impressive was his defense last night? This is all right.
That's your.
That's my old.
That's your contribution. Is it was all right?
No, I mean I think this kid's defense is really good, and it's more so to me than his skill on defense. It's just the effort that he puts forth every time he's on the floor. Like he's just so gung-ho about just guarding his guy. He's like really into it, and I love that. Like his energy is just amazing.
Right. Yeah, and that's the biggest part. Obviously, defense is effort.
Yeah.
And so you have a guy that it just seems like he's so willing to do whatever the team needs.
Yeah.
And especially defensively, where he just has all of that energy to just harass guys like he does, and it doesn't always work out. But there's a lot of sort of promise there with Terrence Ferguson.
Yeah, I really hope they keep him around. I think he could develop into a really nice player, but you never know.
It's true.
All right, Connor Kelly at CKelly0. Why do we insist on switching every single pick and roll? Mavs got anything they wanted in the fourth quarter after a switch. I think this same guy asked the same question earlier in the year.
I did think it was. I mean, it is kind of weird though, given.
There were a couple so bad switches yesterday.
Right. Well, and also
Raymond on Dirk, Abrines on Dirk.
So also, whenever you consider like Robertson being out, like that's the biggest part of being able to switch. I think, whenever the rest of the starters are in there. Yeah. So especially with Paul George.
Yeah. Like those guys, you can switch.
You have to have. I feel like you have to have Robertson in there to be able to do that because, like Josh Eustace is not. I don't know. It worries me anytime you get into that position with Josh Eustace. Although he is a good defender, it's not Dre out there.
Yeah, like Dre is a master of switching. Yeah. He's incredible at it. But these other guys, not so much. When you got
fighting over, he's also. I mean, you talk about fighting over a screen. I don't know if that was more so to do with it. Was he's really good at fighting over screens and getting around a screen to stick with his guy. And so I don't know. It is frustrating though, switching and putting somebody in a bad position, like what you were saying.
Yeah, like I feel like you could switch based on personnel again. It's a lot of that. Like, look at your personnel out there. Like maybe right now, don't switch, guys. Like you got Ray, don't ever get on Dirk. Like if you can avoid that, please do. Although you are stout. All right,
going back to that.
Corey at Whitehawk 918 must be from Tulsa or something.
Okay.
Why wasn't Paul George guarding Dennis Smith on those final shots? Oh, we did talk about that earlier.
A little bit, yeah.
Because you brought up a great point. Harrison Barnes was on fire all night.
He was, and I think that was part of the problem is, who knows what happens if you do put, I don't know if Paul, it still is not great. Like, that was the issue with having Dre out. So I don't know how well Paul George would have done. He probably would have held his own, but who knows? Who knows what the Mavs do in that situation? Right. If you do have Paul George, maybe you don't see Dennis Smith going, to the hoop. Maybe
they just use somebody else and do it.
Right. Yeah.
Damn it.
That was so sad.
Depressing. That Dennis Smith Jr. kid is pretty good though.
Yeah.
You think he's the future Russ?
No.
You know?
No, I mean I do think he's
Pretty
I mean
good,
he's
though.
going to be pretty good, but
Him or Donovan Mitchell, who you taking?
definitely Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, same. That was a stupid question.
Yeah.
I'm going to need your help on this, okay?
Okay, yeah, I'll do it.
Notes!
Did I do okay?
You did great. You should do that every time.
Okay, I do.
You don't at all, ever.
What do you got for notes? Are you reading or you
I
want me
thought
to?
you were doing it.
Okay. So the Oklahoma City Thunder's 112-107 victory over the Houston Rockets on ABC drew a 4.1 meter market rating, making it the highest rated primetime NBA Christmas broadcast since 2003, according to ESPN.
That's pretty awesome. Beat that Dubs Cavs match 53 that everyone's tired of seeing.
Yeah.
I'm so tired. Well, let's switch off.
Okay. All-Star voting is underway. Cast your
Switch off at all.
Cast your votes. Cast your votes for Thunder players on all of the social medias.
All of them. Just keep retweeting it over and over and over and over.
Yeah,
and over.
especially ours.
All right, Russell Westbrook has passed Kevin Durant for first place on the Thunder's all-time scoring list. Thunder
How
only.
happy does that make you?
Thunder only, not Supersonics.
Yeah.
I don't know why Supersonics stats are ever included in our stats.
I don't
Get rid
like
of them,
it
trash
either.
them, burn them, and it makes me very happy.
All right, next one's yours.
Russell Westbrook was named Western Conference Player of the Week last week because he's a badass, and he's
Yeah.
back. Brody back.
He is back. The NBA has set the Las Vegas Summer League dates July 6th to the 17th, open to all 30 teams.
Ooh.
So the Orlando cancellation, having the cancellation of the Orlando Summer League, and now more teams can join Vegas.
I kind of like that. Because I always thought it was weird how they did the two different
Do you?
things.
I
Yeah.
kind of liked it
That
though.
was weird to me. Wasn't my favorite.
So you want them all?
Yeah,
Or
all.
I guess
Just go have a big
they could
giant
still be set.
NBA tournament,
Maybe.
but Summer League wise.
And the Thunder, obviously, the Thunder typically go to Orlando.
Yeah. So we won't now because it's not there.
Okay.
All right. The Thunder's city uniforms have been unveiled. What you think?
You guys, the other guys on the podcast, really had
The other guys, as in me and the other guys, or the other guys?
no, including you.
Okay.
Besides
If
me.
you're listening today, it's me.
No,
and
besides
the other
me, had a problem with them. I don't love them. They're not great.
guys. Correct.
The T-shirt was, I thought, much better.
Mm-hmm.
But the uniforms were, I didn't have that big of a problem with them. They just, I think whenever you look at what we were given,
yeah.
and then you go to that, it did seem.
It's like they did a really good, like a great, amazing job with the statement uniforms, and then they're like, well, let's put yellow outlines around this stuff for no reason. Like, that's my biggest problem with them. They actually don't look that terrible outside of, like, the yellow outline and then the text, like the font.
It
the
means
OKC
something, though.
Font. The yellow does?
Yeah,
What's that mean?
like it's the representation of Thunder.
Yeah, but they should have put it in a different, like, the design of it is bad. That's
Maybe
what I'm saying. Like, if you were the designer that made that and you're like, yes, this looks amazing, you should quit your job.
Well, there's a few people that signed off on that. So.
Yeah, they should quit their jobs. All right, so the teams will apparently get new city uniforms every season, thank God. So we'll have a different one next year.
But Nike's done a pretty good job thus far.
For the most part, a lot of the city jerseys this year didn't look very good to me.
No,
Like,
but overall,
yeah, I think overall it was really good. One thing I really didn't like this year is that they went away from having the Christmas jerseys. Like
Yeah.
the Christmas Day jerseys are like one of my favorite parts
yeah,
of,
and
of
it was
that game.
It was the biggest part of that was the fact that you get that one jersey for that.
Yeah.
For that they started
It
with
was
that
like
day,
That day was the only day they wore it.
which I
That's
don't know.
pretty cool, I thought. But I mean, everybody got 4 new uniforms this year, so maybe that's why they didn't do it. But so those city jerseys will be worn for the first time on January 25th versus the Wizards. So
Yeah, they'll probably win that game because of those jerseys.
hopefully.
Did you see the Jordan Brand official Russell Westbrook signature
I did.
on court sneaker, little sneak peek kind of a
Sure
thing?
did. And I mentioned this last pod, but someone said somewhere, I can't remember, but good credit.
Sounds good.
Giving credit where credit is due. But someone mentioned that I think that's just his player edition of that Jordan shoe.
Right.
And he'll have his other signature, an actual Russell Westbrook signature shoe later on. So
Yeah.
Rockets center Nene, however you want to say it, was assessed a flagrant 1 after NBA review of Monday's game at OKC, and Monday being Christmas Day, not this Monday if you're listening today.
Yeah.
Contact was with Josh Eustace in the first quarter. It is his first flagrant point of the season.
Okay. The NBA's competition committee will discuss in March possible replay solutions to the kind of
Goddamn right.
Giannis play from the other night, which definitely I would expect changes to come.
Yeah, they better. And as we mentioned earlier, Pat was fined $10,000. That's a lot of money for just saying refs are shit on Twitter. I don't understand. Like, it's just weird to me that they get fined for tweeting. But I guess if they didn't, then it would be absurd. And they would just talk mad shit all the time.
Probably so.
So.
But there is, I don't know, it is weird that you don't necessarily know what the line is.
Yeah. It's just kind of like, hey, $10,000. They're kind of like insurance. Like whenever you go to the doctor and you're like, hey, I need a surgery. And they're like, okay, it's going to cost you some money. How much? You'll find out after the surgery. We're just going to start sending you fucking bills. So.
If you, that's.
That happened to me. It happened to me, so I'm a little upset.
Seemed pretty close to home.
All right. So up next, we got Hero Zero.
Yeah.
We got these games coming up Wednesday, January 3rd at Los Angeles Lakers. Thursday, the 4th at the Clippers. So the same Staples Center, back to back. And then they go to Phoenix on Sunday. Who you got?
I'm going to go ahead and go, which is very dangerous, but I'm going to say 3-0.
We're on the same page, bro.
Okay, good.
3-0.
Well,
taking it.
I'm a lot closer to losing than you are.
I know.
So
I'm banking on you losing first, and then I'll be okay.
I haven't lost yet, like any of these that we've done so far.
Yeah,
I haven't lost.
It's just Brandon and Jacob that are losers so far.
Well, I mean, even last year, whenever you lost.
Oh, I lost hard though.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's it.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Twitter at OKC Thunderheads. Justin, who's not here, is over at Thunder Tie, and Jacob is at Thunder Mob 405. Both of them not here. Subscribe on iTunes and YouTube. If you watch us on YouTube Live, thank you so much. We really appreciate that. Go ahead and rate us and review us on iTunes if you'd be so kind. We're on Facebook, SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, Overcast, and our very own OKCThunderheads.com. Also, we got picked up on Spotify, so that's pretty sweet.
That is pretty sweet.
If you couldn't find us before, you definitely can find us now because Spotify is everywhere. So just you can just search Thunderheads on there, and we'll come up. And
then you can listen.
You can just put it in your ears.
Yeah.
And yeah, Happy New Year's, everybody. That was we made it through 2017, and now it's 2018. So as always, Thunder up. Are we waving?
No.
That was a weak wave.